Ladies and gentlemen, there's one thing we all need to understand: value is not just about what we bring to the table. It's about how we carry ourselves, how we see ourselves, and how we allow others to treat us. So today I want to talk about the silent killers of value, the things that slowly eat away at your confidence, your worth, and your power without you even realizing it. 1, lack of self-respect. If you don't set the standard for how you should be treated, someone else will. And trust me, their standards will never be as high as yours should be. Self-respect is the foundation of value. It's in the way you walk, the way you talk, and most importantly, the way you allow people into your life. When you respect yourself, others have no choice but to do the same. 2, desperation for validation. There's a fine line between wanting to be appreciated and needing constant validation. The moment you rely on others to tell you who you are, you lose your power. Confidence doesn't ask for approval. It simply exists. When you own who you are, you attract people who respect that, not those who take advantage of it. 3, negativity and complaints. We all have bad days, but if your mindset is stuck in complaints, excuses, and negativity, you drain the energy of those around you. And let's be honest, energy is everything. The most valuable people are those who bring light, solutions, and a strong mindset, not those who constantly dwell on problems. The way you speak, the way you think, it all creates the reality you live in. 4, losing your individuality. The biggest mistake anyone can make is trying to shrink themselves to fit into someone else's life. Your individuality is your magic. The things that make you different, the dreams you have, the passions that set your soul on fire, these are the things that create true value. Never trade them just to be accepted. The right people will embrace your uniqueness, not ask you to change. It taught lack of self-respect is one of the most significant things that can silently erode your value. It's not always about what you say. Sometimes it's about what you tolerate. The way you carry yourself, the way you allow people to treat you, and the way you respond to disrespect all reflect how much you value yourself. When you lack self-respect, you send a message, whether consciously or unconsciously, that you are willing to accept less than you deserve. And the moment you do that, others start treating you accordingly. Self-respect is not about arrogance or proving a point. It's about having a deep understanding of your worth. It's about setting boundaries and standing firm when those boundaries are tested. It's about refusing to settle for anything that makes you feel small, unimportant, or undervalued. The problem is, many people don't even realize when they are compromising their self-respect. It starts with small things: ignoring red flags, making excuses for someone's mistreatment, accepting half-hearted efforts, or continuously giving to people who never reciprocate. Over time, these small allowances turn into habits, and before you know it, you're in a cycle of self-sacrifice that leaves you feeling drained and unappreciated. There's a difference between kindness and self-betrayal. Being kind doesn't mean you have to tolerate disrespect. Being patient doesn't mean you have to wait endlessly for someone to value you. Being understanding doesn't mean you have to accept excuses over consistent actions. People will only treat you as well as you require them to. If you accept the bare minimum, that's exactly what you'll receive. If you tolerate broken promises and inconsistencies, they will continue. When you respect yourself, you don't have to beg for consideration or basic decency. You walk away from anything that doesn't align with what you know you deserve. Your self-respect is evident in the way you speak about yourself, the way you react when someone crosses a line, and the way you hold yourself in every situation. It's in your ability to say no without guilt, to demand fairness without fear, and to remove yourself from spaces that make you feel unworthy. Self-respect is quiet, but it's powerful. It doesn't seek validation because it stands firm on its own. It doesn't need to prove anything because it already knows its worth. The moment you start prioritizing yourself, everything changes. You stop chasing people who don't see your value. You stop making excuses for those who mistreat you. You stop compromising your happiness just to make someone else comfortable. Nothing is more attractive, more powerful, and more valuable than someone who knows their worth and refuses to settle for less. When you carry self-respect, you don't have to demand attention, you naturally command it. You don't have to prove your value, it's felt in your presence. The way you see yourself determines how the world sees you. The moment you start treating yourself like you are valuable, everyone else will have no choice but to do the same. Desperation for validation is one of the most subtle and damaging things that can diminish a person's value. It's not always obvious, but it manifests in the small ways people seek approval, overextend themselves, or shape their identity based on how others perceive them. The need to be constantly reassured, accepted, or acknowledged can create a cycle where self-worth becomes dependent on external validation. And the more someone seeks validation from outside sources, the less secure they become in who they truly are. Validation at its core is a normal human desire. Everyone wants to feel seen, heard, and appreciated. However, when this need becomes excessive, it turns into a form of emotional dependence. A person starts measuring their worth based on compliments, attention, or how others react to them. Their happiness and confidence become tied to whether or not they receive approval. This creates an exhausting dynamic, one where they are constantly trying to prove their value instead of simply knowing it. The danger in this is that it puts power in other people's hands. If validation is received, there's a temporary boost in confidence. But the moment it's absent, insecurity creeps in. It becomes an emotional roller coaster where self-worth fluctuates based on the opinions and actions of others. People who seek constant validation often don't realize how it affects the way they are perceived. Neediness repels because it creates an energy of lack of someone searching for something outside of themselves instead of radiating confidence from within. Confidence, on the other hand, is magnetic. It doesn't ask for permission to exist, it simply is. When someone knows their worth, they don't require constant reminders from others. They don't fish for compliments, over-explain themselves, or seek approval at every turn. Instead, they stand firm in who they are, and that quiet assurance is what draws people in. The problem with desperation for validation is that it often leads to settling for less than what is deserved. When someone is too eager for approval, they may ignore red flags, tolerate mistreatment, or overcompensate in relationships. They may become overly agreeable, afraid to speak their mind for fear of losing someone's favor. They may put others on a pedestal while diminishing their own needs. This imbalance creates unhealthy dynamics where they are constantly giving while receiving little in return. The fear of being disliked, rejected, or abandoned drives them to seek validation at any cost, even if it means losing themselves in the process. True confidence comes from within. It is built by knowing who you are, embracing your strengths and flaws, and understanding that your worth is not determined by outside opinions. It is about being secure enough to stand alone without needing someone else to affirm your value. The moment you stop chasing validation is the moment you become truly powerful. Because when you validate yourself first, the world has no choice but to follow your lead. Negativity and complaints are silent destroyers of value. They don't just impact the way you see the world, they shape how the world sees you. A negative mindset, whether intentional or not, affects your energy, your interactions, and the way people respond to you. It creates an invisible barrier between you and the opportunities, connections, and experiences that could elevate your life. Negativity is not just about what is spoken, it's about the energy that is carried. Some people don't even realize how much they focus on the downside of things. They are so used to pointing out what's wrong, expecting the worst, or complaining about what they lack that it becomes second nature. But here's the truth. The way you think and speak has a direct effect on the kind of energy you bring into a room. When someone is constantly complaining, dwelling on problems, or carrying a pessimistic attitude, it creates an emotional drain. It repels rather than attracts. People may listen out of politeness, but over time, they start to distance themselves because negativity is exhausting to be around. It's important to recognize that everyone has difficult moments. Life is not always perfect, and challenges are inevitable. But the difference lies in how those challenges are approached. A person who is solution-oriented, who acknowledges problems but focuses on overcoming them, carries an entirely different energy than someone who remains stuck in a cycle of complaints. Complaining doesn't change situations, it only reinforces helplessness. When someone constantly speaks about what's wrong, they train their mind to seek out more problems. And the more problems they focus on, the more powerless they feel. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle where negativity breeds more negativity. Beyond personal impact, negativity affects relationships as well. No one wants to be around someone who constantly brings down the mood, finds fault in everything, or refuses to see the good in situations. Relationships thrive on mutual support, uplifting energy, and shared positivity. But when one person is always focusing on what's lacking, the connection becomes strained. Instead of being someone who inspires, encourages, and brings light, they become someone who drains energy from those around them. Negativity also has a way of blocking blessings and opportunities. When someone is stuck in a mindset that expects the worst, they fail to recognize the possibilities right in front of them. They reject optimism, downplay potential, and assume that nothing good is coming. This limited thinking creates a closed-off reality where growth is impossible. Opportunities don't just come to those who wait, they come to those who believe in them. And when someone's mindset is clouded with negativity, they unknowingly push away the very things they desire. Shifting from negativity to positivity is not about pretending that everything is perfect. It's about making a conscious choice to focus on what can be controlled, to seek solutions instead of problems, and to approach life with a mindset that attracts rather than repels. Energy is contagious, and the more you bring light into your own world, the more you naturally draw others toward you. A powerful presence is built on optimism, strength, and resilience, not on complaints, excuses, or pessimism. Losing your individuality is one of the most damaging things you can do to your sense of self. Your uniqueness is your power. And the moment you start changing, shrinking, or molding yourself to fit into someone else's expectations, you begin to lose the very thing that makes you valuable. Individuality isn't just about personal interests or external identity. It's about your thoughts, your passions, your values, and the essence of who you are. When you give that up, even in small ways, you disconnect from your true self, and in doing so, you lose the magnetic energy that draws the right people and opportunities into your life. Many people don't realize when they start sacrificing their individuality. It happens gradually. It starts with small compromises, adjusting opinions to match someone else's, hiding certain aspects of personality to be more likable, or neglecting passions and hobbies because they don't seem to fit into a particular situation. Over time, these small changes turn into a complete loss of identity. What was once a unique, confident, and independent person slowly fades into a version of themselves that is shaped by external expectations rather than internal truth. And the most painful part, when someone loses themselves for the sake of others, they often find that the validation or approval they were seeking never truly fulfills them. People may think that blending in or adapting to what others want will make them more desirable, but the reality is the opposite. The moment you suppress your true nature, your energy shifts. You start second-guessing yourself, seeking approval before making decisions, and losing the effortless confidence that comes from being authentic. There is nothing more powerful than a person who fully owns who they are without apology, without hesitation. This kind of self-assurance is rare, and that is why it stands out. When you embrace your individuality, you naturally attract people who appreciate you for who you truly are, rather than those who only accept a version of you that conforms to their expectations. Individuality is not about being different just for the sake of standing out. It's about honoring what makes you unique, whether that's your interests, your dreams, your opinions, or your personal style. It's about recognizing that no one else in the world has your exact combination of experiences, talents, and perspectives. The most successful, inspiring, and influential people are the ones who refuse to compromise their uniqueness. They didn't let fear of judgment silence them, and they didn't allow the pressure to conform to dull their shine. When you lose your individuality, you also lose your voice. You start living a life dictated by what others think is right for you, rather than what you truly desire. You hesitate to express your opinions, you avoid pursuing paths that might be unconventional, and you prioritize fitting in over standing out. But life is too short to be anything other than fully yourself. The people who truly matter will love you for who you are, not for who you try to be. And the more you embrace your uniqueness, the more you step into your full power.